Welcome to my film review of The Current Wars. Now this movie title could be a little bit confusing. The Current Wars? Ooh, is it about wars, battles? No, it's to do with the creation of electricity and the battle for supremacy on the matter between two fantastic scientists and inventors at the time. Thomas Edison, which we'll all have heard of, and this guy George Whittingate or something. Got to be honest, his name doesn't roll off the tongue like some historic inventors do. He's an American huge figure, but wasn't a name I was hugely familiar with. And then you've got Nikola Tesla, a guy hopefully, if like me, you've all heard of. Another very famous name. And the three of them were all very much involved in this matter. Now, this movie was right up my street. When I first saw the trailer, not long ago, I kind of straight away was like, yes! I kind of know the story because I'm a bit of a geek for learning. I like learning stuff about the olden days and that particular era, late 1800s, early 1900s. It's only like 100 years ago from now, okay, 150, but realistically it's not long ago, and it's quite fascinating how different the world was such a relatively short amount of time ago. And the movie starts in the year 1880, and that's basically when the electricity and the light bulb starts to become a public mainstream thing. And it's fascinating. How did we survive without electricity? And who the hell actually created it, and how did it come about? Well, this movie covers all those points, and it's brilliant. Really enjoyed this movie, although I would say I possibly didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping to. So just to set the scene a little bit, I'm quite obsessed with Nikola Tesla and the Tesla coin. My obsession begun with Command and Conquer, Red Alert. I love being the Soviets and building Tesla coils. They are the best defense in Command and Conquer. I'm talking about the old school one from like the PlayStation 1. The best. I still play that game now. It's awesome. Tesla coils, my favorite thing in the world. So when I heard about this Nikola Tesla, I was like, so the Tesla, that's why it's called the Tesla coil, because of this guy, Nikola Tesla, that actually invented it. And then also scalar energy. Came across a scientist bloke in America who's doing scalar energy treatments. And I'm like, what? That sounds like, Mickey Mouse treatments. So I was like, what is this Tesla energy? So again, realised, it's Nikola Tesla. Did some research, read about it, and this was about 2 years ago, about 2017, started getting interested in this. And then I watched a movie on Amazon Prime, a little documentary about Nikola Tesla, and I would recommend watching that because it covers very much this movie, to be honest. What happens in this movie was covered in that documentary, but more from Nikola Tesla's point of view and how his work went unfinished, if you know what I mean. He never quite got to really get all of his ideas and the invention of the Tesla coil. He never really got to test it, thoroughly because of circumstances surrounding money, ultimately. And that's one common theme with all these scientists and inventors. None of them were real business brains, so none of them were really very good at making money and keeping money, because they didn't have the business brain. They were very much scientists, create new things, so it's fascinating. It is truly fascinating, because you think nowadays if somebody invented something as huge as the light bulb, they'd be the richest man in the world. If you invented electricity, like the guy who invented the internet, he didn't make money from it. So I guess that isn't always necessarily true, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like the guy who invents the electric car, Elon Musk, he's pretty darn rich, but back in the day, they weren't. And it's a fascinating struggle, and the movie is about it's the battle between AC/DC, not the band, but alternating current and direct current. Now again, I went into this movie really knowing what this what this was about. Direct current had its huge draws. Alternating current is what we use today, but at the time it was like, oh, we can't use that. So this movie explains, and I'm not going to say too much about the movie, but what I would say about this is, because it's a factual a movie on true life events, I would encourage you, before you see the movie, if you can, watch the documentary on Amazon Prime. There might be some stuff on YouTube. Watch it, because my criticism of this movie is, I feel if I hadn't watched and done my research prior, like over the last few years, about Nikola Tesla and all that, I might have found the movie going a little bit too fast and skimming over the detail a little bit too much for my liking. I love the detail. I love seeing the science behind it all. And this movie doesn't bore you with that. It just gives you the gist. So this is the crack, this happens here, and we move on. That was that. Let's go a couple of years further down the field now, and we'll progress the story. Give me the detail, give me the science, give me the how. I'm a bit of a geek. I like learning how. Like the movie The Big Short, when they explain the financial instruments and background, same with The Wolf of Wall Street, and they say, you don't want to know that, you'd just be bored, we'll skip over that. I say, no, I do want to know that. I mean, teach me, tell me every tiny little detail. So if, like me, you're a detail person, this movie isn't going to scratch that itch. It puts into a dramatized fashion, into a movie, the story of the battle between Thomas Edison and his huge ego, and Jeff Whittingate, sorry, that's not his name, the other dude, and two very different personalities, and it's quite fascinating actually. The movie really gives you the personality differences, whereas I don't remember that so much from the documentary. The documentary was much more facts. So this is how AC current works. This is how DC current works. This is how the Tesla coil. This is how the conductors work. It was like, oh, brilliant, fascinating. Bit of a mini science lesson. I like that. So if you like that and you want that kind of detail, and also if you want to probably enjoy the movie to the max, I would say go and watch these documentaries first, because then the stuff in the movie will all make a lot more sense, I think. And the movie's very enjoyable. But ultimately, I do feel if I didn't know like the story and background of Nikola Tesla, there's a bit when Nikola Tesla's on the boat at the beginning, and I know what was going on in his head and what was happening in that scene because of my knowledge of Nikola. But I think if I didn't have that, I'd be thinking, well, who is he? What's going on? I didn't get that scene. What was that scene about? And I think I might find it quite frustrating. So be warned, this movie, if you go into it with zero knowledge, I'm not sure how much of this movie you'll be like, oh, yes, oh, I get that, oh, I get that. You might be like, whoa, what's going on? Who's he? And there might be elements where you're thinking, what? I don't get it. What's happening? So, yeah, that's my warning. The other thing that I would say is, if you're not, if you're not a bit geeky like me, I'm not sure if you need to see this movie at the cinema. As much as I enjoyed it, it's not the kind of movie that you have to go to the cinema to see. So, if you pay a lot to see the cinema, you could just wait till this comes out on DVD and rent it at home, or not watch it, wait till it comes out on TV, because it's the kind of movie that doesn't have any cinematic wow factor where you have to see it at the cinema. But if, like me, you're a Cineworld member and you can go for free, or you can go for cheap, definitely go and give this film a watch. It's really enjoyable. But I would recommend do the documentary first if you want to be really geekified and really understand all of the crucial details. The other factor I would say is make sure you're there at the start, because there's reading scenes. You need to read stuff, and the very stuff at the beginning was so quick I didn't even have a chance to read it all. So be switched on early on. If you got your ice cream or your popcorn or whatever, don't be sat eating it at the very beginning of the movie, be focused on the screen, because the words come up to set the scene as to what's going on. And like I say, I didn't have time to read literally every word, so that would have been really frustrating if I didn't already know kind of the gist of the story. Yeah, so be prepared for that. And then at the very end as well, there's quite a lot of words which summarizes what happened at the end and everything. So it was nice, really enjoyable movie. But I'm going to downgrade it a little bit. I thought this was going to be a solid 8 out of 10, but I think because it's a little bit quick with the detail, I've got to drop it down a little bit to maybe 7.8. Yeah, it's going to get a 7.8 out of 10. The characters are fantastic in this. The guy who plays George, he's brilliant. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Thomas Edison, he's brilliant. The guy that plays Nikola Tesla, I just thought he was Nikola Tesla. You know, when a character is so convincing as that character and you start to look like him, you're like, you are Nikola Tesla. What does Nikola Tesla looks exactly like you. It was weird, but cool. I like that. So, yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed the movie. It's very quick, very skips over the real crack of the details. So be prepared for that. It's a very brief, overviewy type movie. And not necessarily a movie for everyone. I was thinking to myself in that scene, I wouldn't be surprised if some people in there were maybe bored or thinking, why the hell did I come and see this at the cinema? So it's probably a bit of a unique taste, this kind of a movie. It's not for everybody, but if you like a movie that ultimately teaches you a little bit about history, you know, like Rush, the Formula One movie, you might not be interested in Formula One, but the movie Rush is a phenomenal story about a real life thing that happened. You're like, my God, did that really happen? Well, the creation of electricity and the light bulb is pretty darn fascinating. But like I say, if you want the details, there's loads of documentaries on Amazon Prime, probably on YouTube. Go and check them out. And still watch this movie as well, because the movie is a dramatized version of history, which makes it all fluffy and nice and characters that you get to know, and you know, a movie at the end of the day. But if you want the facts, dig those facts out, because it is fascinating. Imagine the world without electricity, and it wasn't that long ago, late 1800s. And then it's like, how do they make money out of it and everything? Oh, it was brilliant. And, again, there was bits of the movie where when they started talking about it, I knew the background detail from the documentary, and they didn't go into that detail in the movie. So I would be fascinated to know how a person would enjoy this movie without knowing the full script of what really happened, because I don't know whether you'd come away thinking, oh, okay, well that was kind of interesting, but the actual documentary where it goes into more detail truly is fascinating. And I know I've harped on about that a lot, so I'll shut my hole now and stop piping on about it. But I love this story. It's a fascinating time. It's a fascinating moment in history. So if you like to learn and be entertained, definitely go and check out this movie. But in all fairness, it is one that you could just wait and see at home if money is the factor. If you're a Cineworld holder, get your ass in there, go see it. It's brilliant. The characters, the actors, it's really well put together. Really enjoyed it, but possibly not for everyone. You need to have a little bit of a geek side to you to want to learn about history. And if you do, go watch it. You'll like this movie as much as I did. 7.8 out of 10, that's what you're getting. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next review. Goodbye.